Booyakasha! It's your main man, Pawtai P, here with the second episode of Rinkside. We got a packed agenda in place for you today, starting things off with the grand reveal of the new co-host of Rinkside, Chewy Canadian.
Hey, how's it going, Pawtai? Thanks for officially inviting me as your co-host of Rinkside.
Oh, awesome, Chewy. It's a pleasure to have you here. Couldn't have asked for a better co-host. Super excited for what we're going to do on this show together. Why don't you tell the audience here today what we have on the agenda in store for them?
Yeah, so we're going to start off with the Allstar recap, going over the pros and the minors, as well as the pros of the week and the minors of the week for the All-Star game. After that, we're going to go into Pautai's plays of the week, and then we'll end off with Evan's interview.
All right. That sounds super exciting. Why don't we move into the All-Star game recap?
All right. So first, we have the championship team, the Europe division, coached by Onni Eskola. They had a record of 3-1, taking out the central team in the finals after losing to them in the round robin.
Ooh, tough team to fight against, but we had a pretty strong contention there with Central, coached by Doug Britton, who also put up a 3-1 record.
Yeah, they went undefeated, obviously, in the round robin, and then unfortunately losing in the final. Next up, we have the Atlantic Division, coached by your only Trevor Lopez. They ended up with a record of 1-2.
And kind of closing things out in the pro, we've got coached by Krieg himself, the Pacific Division, that had a big old goose egg next to a 3, but put up a good effort.
Yeah, they really fought back, I think, in the later part of the games. They were all one-goal games, and I mean, if there was a couple more minutes left in each of those games, I'm sure they could have tied it up. They put up a hell of a fight, even though it didn't show it. Next up, we got the minors from the Canada Division, coached by Triple H, Hunter, Hurst, Helmsley. They won the championship, going 2-1 in the round robin.
They were not fun to play against, but respected on the ice. Very tough opponents for the Global Division, coached by myself, Pawtai. And we put up a 1-2 record, winning the last game, getting crushed in the first one, and a close, I think it was 2-1 in the second.
Yeah, that was a great series to watch. I think if that game was a 7-game series, it'd be going exactly to 7 games because that was definitely a thriller.
Oh yeah. Well, there's always next year, but for this year, let's talk about we already mentioned them, but the winners of the pro and minor all-star games. So I'll take the pros. We've got the Europe division that included the Dublin Dragons, Glasgow Black Watch, Florence Firebirds, and the Turku Finns taking home the All-Star Cup this year.
Yeah, so just a reminder to everyone. So everyone who played in the All-Star game will receive a 5 progression boost in the off-season. However, every player a part of that division will also be getting +1 next week's progression, which is week 11, to their progression. So you may not have been in the All-Star game, but everyone does get rewarded from that division. Same thing goes for the Canada Division. So those teams include the Atlantic Bucks, the Manitoba Snowhawks, the Saskatoon Farmers, and the Vancouver Whales. Like I said, +5 for all the contenders in the All-Star game and +1 for every player that's a part of that division.
Wow, it certainly pays to win. Is this the same reward kind of structure as they had last year, or is this kind of new?
So it's a little different in terms of the players in the All-Star game. Everyone who played did get that +5 progression in the off-season. However, because now we're at 16 teams with 4 divisions and 2 conferences, we moved over to that division style all-star game, and we felt like to engage the players a lot more, to have that extra bonus for even the players, even if they're not in the team, but they're part of the division. So everyone gets rewarded, and it helps with the voting too. We find that a lot of the times people vote for their own teams. This way, it's trying to push towards voting for the best players in each division.
And so the GOHLS staff kind of came up with that. Was there someone that kind of originated that idea, or did it kind of all together came together?
Yeah, I think in the end it was kind of an altogether decision. I kind of initially brought up the All-Star divisions. I think it was kind of already just like kind of decided once we were switching to divisions. We just were finalizing everything. So we definitely did it as a team there.
Excellent. And, speaking of teams, there's always some standout players for each of the teams. So let's dive into our players of the week. Why don't you take the pros?
Yeah, so the pro player of the week, or the player of the All-Star game, is the Dublin Dragons Grizzlebear. Mainly he had the Hattie in the final game to put the Europe division over the Central. He also double shifted for most of the game after Amelia Rose got injured a few minutes into the game, and then Europe actually had a second injury with Hume later on. So there was a lot of players playing double ice time, and they were still able to put up the points with the low endurance throughout the game.
How did it feel kind of sitting out that championship game?
Yeah, it's frustrating. Obviously, you don't like to see your player get injured right away. We won though, so I'm not going to complain. I'll call it the sacrifice to the GOHLS gods that Amelia Rose needed to take for Grizzlebear and the rest of the Europe team to win the game.
Very nice. And shifting focus to the minors, I'd have to say that Heinz Hodruff won the player of the week, scoring in not one, not two, but all 3 games, had 4 points, and helped the Canada division claim the win and the prize. So Double H, hats off to you.
Yeah, if that's not consistency, I don't know what is.
All right. And now for my favorite segment, Pawtai's Plays of the Week. All right, kicking us off, all tied up 0-0, and Eskola with a beautiful top shelf snipe. What a great goal here. Here's a second look for you back at home.
Next up, we got Johnny McSlaps here. It looks like this play was just perseverance from the Canada team. Took a shot, it was blocked, but they come back, take another shot from the point, and goes right in. Second look here, Canada on the forecheck. They don't give up, even with all the block shots.
Yeah, that one was a nice long range one from there. All right, next up we've got Phillips with a post ringer. I think it hit all 3 posts. Beautiful one. And I think that sealed the deal for the Pacific in the shootout.
Next up, we got Fulton Reed with the game winner here, doing a nice little spinorama with 23 seconds left in the game. Does it all by himself to close out and bring Europe to the finals. One more time for the goal there. What a great goal.
Nice. Yeah, that was a good one. And so finally wrapping up, I know Rose kind of got some shortened ice time in the championship, so wanted to call out a beautiful breakaway we got here, coming down the ice, shifts it over to the side and sinks it in. That one feel good?
That one felt good. Yeah, it's always nice getting a goal in the games that matter.
Yes. All right, why don't you send us out to the interview?
All right, here we go.
All right, this is Pawtai here alongside Chewy with Rinkside, episode 2. And we have here Onni Eskola, aka Evan, as our featured guest. Onni, how are you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on. How are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing good.
Yeah, we're doing well tonight. Oni, do you prefer to go by Oni or just Evan?
Usually Evan, but I'm good with anything. Onni, Eskola, any of it.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. All right. Well, so, tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you a player, coach, owner, member of the staff of Goals?
Yes, to pretty much all of that. I'm a deputy commissioner. I'm also the minors commissioner. So I run the minors, I stream the minors, I stream some of the pro games, and I own the Turku Finns. And my player is a winger on the Finns, Onni Eskola, number 73.
Great number. Chewy, what question we got next?
Yeah. So who brought you into the league? So I guess quote unquote, who's your sim father? Who started you in all this?
Yeah, this is actually my first sim league. I've joined a number of them since, but this was my first one, and I joined it because Krieg posted a link in a fantasy hockey league that we were in together, and I figured I'd check it out, and yeah, it was all up from there.
That's funny. That's same for me actually. That's how
Oh
I
yeah,
got into goals. Yeah,
nice.
and I think it was like Knuckle Puck or one of the fantasy leagues.
Yeah.
Cool. I got in through Fowler, who was going through a bunch of SFL people, and was lucky enough to join the league early on, at least for me, because I see it going a long time. So
Mhm.
tell us about a week in the life as the minors commissioner. What's involved? What plates you got spinning? What are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah, so on the weekends, taking all the new players and kind of sorting out where they like what teams they're going to play for, where the rosters are going to be balanced, stuff like that. Then once that's done, luckily I've got some help this season. Doug does a lot of work in the game, but there's a lot of minors progressions to do, which usually happen the first few days of the week, because the pro progressions take all weekend pretty much, and then we stream the minors games later in the week. Stream 12 games a week. Usually it's just me streaming those ones. So um, yeah, and then beyond that, it's just answering questions and kind of helping guide the minors players who are mostly new people to the league and kind of help get them started.
So I know Justin is the Chewy is the director of players and personnel. Amongst new members in the team, I'm sure retention, keeping people within the league is important. How do you guys partner together to keep the league, vibrant and flushing?
Yeah, we kind of work hand in hand, obviously with the other commissioners too. Kind of a group of 4 or 5 of us. Yeah, just kind of handling a lot of the major league decisions, and we all have lives and jobs and stuff, so we kind of help cover each other when someone's not available, answering questions and stuff like that.
Anything to add to
Nice.
that, Chewy?
No, that pretty much covers it. It's I mean, the big part of sim leagues is making sure people understand it, and not everyone can always get to all the questions, and that's really what everyone's goal is in the league staff, is to make sure that once people join, they're comfortable and they understand what's going on. Yeah, so back onto the minors. So we started with 6 minors last season. This season we are up to 8. Are there plans to expand more minors in the future?
Yeah, I mean, you can even go further back than that. We had 3 or 4 teams in season 1. We had 3 teams in season 2, and now 6 and 3 and 8 in season 4. And yeah, it's just like the pro league. It's pretty much dictated by the growth of the league and the player pool. At our current growth rate, I would expect we'll probably start with 8 minors teams again next season, and then probably the season after that, I could see us adding either 4 or another 8, depending on how the growth is, and trying to eventually, depending on what happens with pro expansion in a few seasons, obviously, but eventually possibly get to the point where each pro team has a minor league affiliate of their own, one day down the road.
Nice. You mentioned pro expansion. Just to clarify for all the other owners, this is not happening
Not happening
this
this
season.
season.
Okay.
No,
Just
no
just want to make sure all the owners can take it easy this offseason.
Yeah, yeah. No, I put out that memo, and that was the first line in it. Was just so you know, it's not happening this time. Yeah, because it's a contentious topic for some owners for sure.
What do you think expansion means for the league?
Um, I mean, it's a good thing. Obviously, like we're seeing people, a lot of people enjoying this league. You know, when I joined it, we like I was one of the original 6 owners. We had 6 teams with 15 players each, and now we're up to 16 pro teams that are full at 19 each, plus 100 and something players in the minors, and that's bigger than any of us expected to see it. So seeing the league expand at the rate we have, I mean, probably means we're doing something right, because you know a lot of people are enjoying it and sticking around and wanting to see more of it. So and bringing their friends in, and I know a number of people who got Discord just to play in this league because their friends were talking about it or whatever. So yeah, seeing people enjoy the league that we put a lot of time into is it's really satisfying.
It's crazy to think just over a year ago there was Joe NHLs in the pro league,
In the pro league, yeah.
and now we're up to 16 full pro teams with like almost 100 minors in the pipeline.
Yeah, and there's probably more minors players now than there are Joe NHLs in the minors as well. Even with even with doubling or however much we added, however many teams we added, we're still pretty good.
So tell us about the prospect system and your vision for acting as an on-ramp into the league.
Yeah, like you know, like we need new people in the minors all the time to try to fill out those rosters so that they're not seeing Joe NHL all the time. But people aren't going to stick around forever. This season with no pro expansion, we'll probably see less prospects making the jump to the next level. But there's still, I know at least one player on my team is leaving the league after the season. I know there's a few around the league that are as well. So I think finding a way to develop where the prospects feel important and get into the league and enjoy their time in minors, because it might be a few seasons for some people, finding a way to make that enjoyable for them, and then a fair way to do like the affiliation process that we have, where players are connected to a pro team in the minors, and yeah, just seeing them make that next jump is going to be yeah, something to work towards.
And speaking of like making the next jump, what do you feel is the career path for a rookie that's entering the league? Is it prospects, minors, affiliates, pros, or do you see it another way?
Yeah, you know, there was a time where it was you join the league, you wait a week, and a pro team claims you, and now it's at the point where you know you join a team, and the first weekend after you create your player, you're put on a team, and yeah, you play in the minors until the offseason draft, which we're looking sometime around August 20th. Actually, I think that will be the dates. Will be August 20th. And we'll have the pro teams will draft players to their affiliates, and then they'll spend however many seasons in the minors until they get a chance in the pros. And without expanding this time for the first off season in our history with no expansion, it's going to be interesting to see how many spots open up, and we'll start to slowly see, I guess, how many years I guess we could expect to see players in the minors before making that next jump if we're not expanding anymore.
Awesome. What I guess what's like the most new members you've had to onboard in 1 week in terms of assigning to teams and filtering through?
Yeah, I think I don't know if it was the most, but I remember 1 week last season we had 23.
Wow.
New players added to the minors.
That's the whole team.
Yeah, there's 1 week we had 23 players added to the minors last season. That was probably a week or two before the minors filled up, and we had to add those little prospect teams that played the odd game.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
The Alberta prospects or whatever we called it, and yeah, so a few weeks before that we hit 23 new players in 1 week.
Yeah, I think that was one of Fowler's recruitment. I don't even know what you call it, like grouping. There, he's done a couple for the league, which is awesome. Which Pawtai obviously was one of the first.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's had a couple big surges of 100+ people probably, and you know some stick around, some don't, and yeah, he's been a big part of the league growth for sure.
So speaking of big surges, I've heard stories where a broadcaster was drinking and ultimately streamed himself under the table. Was that you? And if so, can you walk us through that night?
Yeah, no, I figured I'd be asked about this after I saw Krieg talking about it last week. So, yeah, a Friday night, and I had gotten home from work and kind of rushed to start the stream because I got home late, and I didn't eat anything before. We did cook some chicken nuggets, but I was commentating the whole time, so I didn't want to be chewing in the mic. So, admittedly, it was on me. I didn't eat enough food, and that was actually the night that Krieg added the streamer shot option, where you could buy shots for Twitch points. So, yeah, it's I went through. I mean, in Canada, we use liters. Obviously, the bottle of rum I had was 1.4 liters, and it was probably 3/4 full when I started. It was empty by the time I ended. And yeah, I remember at one point during the Jacksonville game, I said I'd be right back. I unplugged my mic. I turned on the EA guys. And somehow, I don't remember this, but somehow I managed to get all the screenshots I needed to do of the stats after the game. But then I was dead and I couldn't finish the last game. And Chewy had to stream the last game for me that night.
Yeah.
And then minors I had to do the next afternoon. But yeah, it was a rough night. And, I know the stream sat idle for 20, 30 minutes, something like that. And Krieg DM'd my wife who had gone to bed. She comes out. I'm trying to explain to her how to shut off a Twitch stream on an Xbox, and she I'm mumbling, and so she ended up just unplugging the Xbox, and it worked. So
There you go.
yeah, no, we're a PlayStation family, so not used to the Xbox, but yeah, it was a rough night, but funny to look back on, I guess.
Needless to say, I think Krieg added a limit on those streamer shots after that night.
Yeah,
so
and actually,
I don't think you.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say after that night, I didn't drink for 2 months after that. So not a single drink, and then we went out for dinner one night, and I had one, and yeah, so
Back on the rum.
Yeah, I occasionally. Every now and like I think everyone kind of has that night or 2 nights in their history that kind of make being drunk a little less fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your team, Turku. What's the history of it? And I guess tell us the backstory, where you started, what the original team was, and where do you see your organization heading in the future?
Yeah, so I was not actually one of the first 6 owners picked. There was a guy who was going to have the Pittsburgh Penguins. He kind of disappeared before the startup, so I came in and moved the team to the Calgary Flames, and then did the startup. And I think from that original startup draft, we've got probably 8 of our players left, I think, something like that. And yeah, we spent our first 2 seasons as the Calgary Flames, my favorite team. I live in Winnipeg, but I'm a Flames fan. I get grief for it all the time. And yeah, we had a decent start to our first season, rough ending with 11 straight losses. Our second season was all right. We hit the win streak record, which Florida broke now back-to-back seasons. Made the playoffs for the first time in season 2. Season 3, we had a really rough season, but squeaked into the playoffs at the end, got swept with Florida. And now we made some big moves in the offseason. And yeah, I think we've got a pretty solid group put together here. A few adjustments, and I think we might be dangerous come playoff time.
Just another question. Based off the history and kind of the past 3 seasons, what would you say is the most important aspect of building a team that competes for the playoffs and stays competitive season to season?
Yeah, like I've always traditionally been an offense first kind of person, but the problem with offense is you've got to be going every night because you've got to outscore your opposition if you're an offensive team. So yeah, I would say getting a solid goaltender is a good first step for sure. The goalie is very important. We've got Josh Young in Turku, and we love him. He's got, I don't know, 12, 13 shutouts, something like that so far this season. He's doing great. And I think that's a big contributing factor. And then obviously putting a solid defense core in front of him with some forwards that have some scoring potential. But they're not going to score every night, so you need to be able to shut teams out as well.
Awesome.
And who's your least favorite team to kind of play against, and why?
Okay, I thought you were going a different direction with that, going to get me in trouble. But no, my least favorite team to play against. Like Dublin's obviously tough, but they're in our division. We have the rivalry with you guys, so it's a lot of fun. So I wouldn't say Dublin. All the top teams are tough, but I'm actually going to say Albuquerque. I don't know why. Like we're ahead of them in the standings. We finished ahead of them 2 out of the previous 3 seasons. But they've just, I don't know, since the Josh Young, Christian Bachagalupi trade that we made with each other last season, they've just had our number. And we beat them last time we played them, but they beat us the first 2 times this season. So I'm going to go with them because it's a team that, you look at the standings, they're below us, and we think that, we've got a good chance, and somehow they beat us 2-1 or something like that. So I'll go with Albuquerque.
With your position in the league, do you feel that you learn more from a win or a loss?
Like when I'm trying to learn and improve my team, I try not to even look at the result. I often will go back and watch games a few times after and try to pick out specific things if I'm looking at the power play, stuff like that. But I guess I'd probably say loss to answer your question. You learn a little bit more when your team's failing versus when you're succeeding. If you score a bunch of goals, you're probably not going to learn a whole lot. But if you lose a game 1-0, there's a lot of things you can take away from it, I think.
Awesome. Going back to the league side of it, I guess what would you change about or implement into the league if you could have complete autonomy on it? What would you kind of try to push to make happen? Or if you've already have done it, what have you done that that you've wanted to implement?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think,
Or even for the future, maybe even for
yeah,
something that if
yeah, like so much of our potential growth, I think, has to do with EA, which I know Krieg talked about a little bit last week on the show. If they could just add certain things, like certain stats or progressible players in a season mode or something, we could really get a little more creative with things. But yeah, beyond that, I think the affiliation program has some potential. I think we just need some more bodies and kind of keep growing the minor system to really see the potential of that. But yeah, beyond that, I'm kind of blanking. I know I have lists and lists of ideas and things like that would be great to add, but yeah, I'm blanking at the moment.
So Chewy, I've got a closing question, but just wanted to see if you had anything else to throw at Evan today.
Yeah, actually. So what are your top 3 places to order food from?
Top 3 places to order food from.
Yeah. Or go out to.
Or go out to. Yeah. That's yeah, we often order from like Brown Social House. I don't know if they have that other places. It's like a kind of like pub food.
Okay.
Yeah, they've got a pretty good burger, so we typically order from there. I like Boston Pizza. There's a local place here called Junction 59 that's a few minutes from my house, just off the 59 highway, Lachemodier Boulevard here in Winnipeg, and they've got some pretty good food. And then I guess the typical one would be Domino's Pizza as well.
Nice. And the question, do you put pineapple on your pizza?
Absolutely, I do. Yes.
Oh God. I'm so sorry.
So Evan, where will GOHLS be 5 years from now? What will have changed and what will not have changed?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like obviously we're 1 year into our history, so we're talking another 5 times that. I think yeah, like obviously it will probably be a lot bigger. Hopefully the day gets longer so we have time to stream more games. But yeah, obviously, I really enjoy the league. Hopefully one thing that doesn't change is me being a part of it and the community. We've got a great group of people here, and it's a lot of fun to be a part of. So hopefully it doesn't change. And I know a lot of leagues and different fantasy leagues I've been in the past, or sim leagues, have gotten a little, I guess, toxic in times in their history. And, we've had our fair share of drama here too. But overall, staying positive and staying great community. And whatever features or contents or whatever we manage to bring and provide will just be hopefully for the enjoyment of this great community.
Yeah, I don't think there'd be much of a league if you ended up leaving. You are definitely a huge part of it.
Thanks, you too.
Well, Evan, on behalf of myself, Chewy, in the greater GOHLS community, just wanted to thank you again for hopping onto our show, sharing your perspective, and giving some insight into the future.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me, guys. It was fun.